Audrey and Rusty. Chase Heatherly is going to offer our invocation for us today.
Thank you, President Stephen. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day and for the opportunity to gather again today as Rotarians. Lord, we ask for your guidance and your protection this new year. We ask that you bless our club's efforts this year to better our community, our world, and those around us. Lord, I thank you for each and every one of my fellow club members. Thank you for their leadership and their service and their careers, in their homes, and in the community. I ask that you continue to bless each of them. Please bless this food in the hands that have prepared it, and in all things in your name. Amen.
Good job, Chase. Thank you.
Never seen the applause after that. That was a very good invitation. Very good. Please have a seat. I'd like to welcome back to the podium past President Carrie Powers. Carrie is going to do fellowship for us today, and right before I hand it over to her, I just want to remind everybody about the cart buckets. That's not just a first half of the Rotary year thing, that's an all-year thing, so please remember the cart bucket. Thank you.
All right, thank you, President Stephen. It's great to be back up here with all of you. I had to take a little 6-month hiatus from the microphone. It felt really good. Been sitting in the back of the room for the last 6 months, if y'all wondered where I've been. So today we're going to welcome visiting Rotarians and guests, and we have Joel Collins with us today from Lake Murray Irma Rotary. Where are you, Joel? All right, over here. Welcome. Now, if somebody wants to come up and get the microphone, we'll ask you if you've got a guest, if you'll please stand.
Good morning. All right. I guess it is now. I want to introduce you to Dee Dee Jordan. She's at South State Bank in our wealth division as a wealth relationship manager. So glad she's here.
I want to add something about our guest, Joel Collins. Joel is a charter member of the Lake Murray Irma Rotary Club. They're celebrating their 30th year anniversary on the 30th of January this year. So I'm proud of Joel for keeping that club alive all those years.
Good afternoon. I have Sherry Matthews Hazel, who is the Chief Finance Officer of Richmond County School District 1.
Good afternoon. I'm Carl Byers. I'm pleased to have as my guest today Ms. Janet Bowler Bates. We're celebrating her new promotion to Director of Marketing and Business Development at C.F. Evans Construction. Welcome, Janet.
Good afternoon. I'm John Denise, and I'm really happy to introduce, I guess it's not my guest because I didn't pay for her, but I think Jeff locally paid for her. So this is Linza Jolly. She's the guest of myself and Jeff Lawler, who's doing Health and Happiness, and she's in charge of communications and marketing with Keenan Sykes.
Thank you. My name is Blake Buchanan, and today my guest is Carly Carpenter. She is the Director of Development for Special Olympics South Carolina. She's also helping us with our Bocce Bash as one of our partners, and she's also a member of Main Street Rotary.
Is that everyone? Did we get everybody? All right, also I wanted to make a quick mention that Jim Hudson from Columbia East, he's another visiting Rotarian. I think he just walked in the door, so welcome, Jim. And I hope everybody has a great week.
Thank you, Carrie. It's good to have so many visitors and visiting Rotarians with us today. It's been a few weeks since we've been together, and I can feel the energy in the room. Everybody wants to chat a little bit. So we're going to take advantage of that and do a little table social for the next few minutes. So you can talk Clemson, Alabama. Please don't talk Carolina. But enjoy yourselves for the next few minutes before we can Main Street.
mother would say, do not come to my door until 7 o'clock. So you don't want to stay. Yeah, I mean, they just get up and, I say, yeah, we're not going to Mom and Dad are not getting up. At least I'm still like, we're not going to
Okay. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of time to catch up and socialize with your fellow club members. Jeff Lawler is here today to offer health and happiness, and I'm glad to welcome him back to the podium. Jeff.
Thank you, President Stephen. First of all, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2019. So I wanted to kind of reflect on New Year's and resolutions and things like that. And every time I research the topics, it's interesting what you find out. So we're going to start with a little bit of history. So in 45 BC, when most of you were in kindergarten, New Year's Day was celebrated on January 1st for the first time in history as the Julian calendar began to take effect. In pre-Christian Rome, under the Julian calendar, the day was dedicated to Janus, god of gateways and beginnings, for whom January is also named. In designing his new calendar, Caesar enlisted the aid of an Alexandrian astronomer who advised him to do away with the lunar cycle entirely and follow the solar years just like the Egyptians. The year was calculated to be 365 1/4 days. And Caesar added 67 days to 45 BC, and in 46 BC began on January 1st, rather than in March. He also decreed that every 4 years a day be added to February, thus theoretically keeping his calendar from falling out of step. However, there was a small error in their precision, so in the 1570s, Pope Gregory XIII commissioned a Jesuit astronomer to come up with a new calendar. And in 1582, the Gregorian calendar was implemented, omitting 10 days for that year and establishing the new rule that only one of every 4 centennial years should be a leap year. Since then, people around the world have gathered on January 1st to celebrate the precise arrival of the new year. In present day, most countries now using the Gregorian calendar, New Year's Day is probably the most celebrated public holiday, often observed with fireworks at the stroke of midnight as the new year starts in each time zone. So there's a couple religious insights as well. The Babylonians made promises to their gods at the start of every year, and they would return borrowed objects and pay their debts. The Romans began each year by making promises to the god Janus, for which January is named. In medieval times, knights took the peacock vow at the end of each Christmas season to reaffirm their commitment to chivalry. Many Christians prepare for the new year ahead by praying and making these resolutions. This tradition has many other religious parallels. During Judaism's New Year, Rosh Hashanah, through the high holidays and culminating Yom Kippur, one is to reflect on one's wrongdoings over the year and both seek and offer forgiveness. So I got a couple of stats for you as well. At the end of the Great Depression, about a quarter of American adults formed New Year's resolutions. At the start of the 21st century, about 40% did. In fact, according to the American Medical Association, approximately 40 to 50% of Americans participated in New Year's resolution traditions, and a study found that 46 participants who made common New Year's resolutions were more likely to succeed, over 10 times as among those deciding to make life changes at other times of the year. 35% who failed their New Year's resolutions admitted they had unrealistic goals. 33% of the participants didn't keep track of their progress, and a further 23% forgot about it, which is usually the case, right? About 1 in 10 respondents claimed that they actually made too many resolutions. So in 2007, there was a study done involving 3,000 people that showed 88% of those who set New Year's resolutions failed. despite the fact that 52% of participants were confident of the success at the beginning. Men achieve their goal 22% more often when they engaged in goal setting. So set your goals and you will succeed. The New York Times, I read a New York Times article on how to make and keep your New Year's resolutions. And here's a few bullet points to help you succeed. Pick the right resolution. Be specific. Make it measurable. It has to be actually achievable. You have to make it relevant and make sure there's a time limit. So here's some words of wisdom. So now on to the corny jokes. I raised my left leg before the ball dropped so I could start the new year off on the right foot. Well, okay. Dear God, my prayer for 2019 is a fat bank account and a thin body. Please don't mix it up like you did last year. Did you hear that in 2019 there will be a new device that can turn thoughts into speech? I've had that for years. It's called alcohol. Now this may resonate with a few of you. My New Year's resolution is 1080p. Which I know some of you are soul rocking that 720p.
4D all the way.
And finally, the worst joke, a New Year's resolution is something that goes in one year and out the other. Wait, there's another one. So when we reflect on New Year's resolutions, we all make resolutions, or maybe not formally, let's just say goals. I've made them for years and keep them on my mind all year. I may not achieve them, but I usually make resolutions for things that I may not normally do or have the time to do. But I feel that if you make the time to do them, that they are intrinsically rewarding. One of mine, let's call it the third year resolution, is to try out yoga. I've heard from many friends about how good it makes them feel, and I'm honestly jealous. I'm going to make that happen this year because I've waited the last 2 years, and well, I guess the third time's the charm. So I challenge all of you to make a few resolutions and keep the ones from previous years that mean the most. I think that once you achieve them, you will definitely thank me. So you got to find your why. And I know that y'all have probably heard Simon Sinek talk about finding your why, but it's pretty amazing, so definitely Google it and check it out. But whether you're an entrepreneur, an employee, a leader of a team, or you're looking to find clarity on your next move, your why is the one constant that will guide you toward fulfillment in your work and life. Your why statement is a sentence that clearly expresses your unique contribution and impact. The impact reflects the difference you want to make in the world, and the contribution is a primary action that you take towards making your impact. So I ask everyone in the room to find your why and seize the day. Thank you.
Very good, Jeff. Appreciate the New Year's inspiration there. For a second, I thought you were trying to take the mantle from Rex Wilson on the jokes, but you stopped just in time. I'm pleased to have Libby Gober up here today. She's going to tell you about a really exciting opportunity that our club has an opportunity to participate in. And we had Bill Ellen here several months ago. Bill told us about the NCAA tournament, which is coming to Columbia this year. And here's the next announcement about that.
Thanks, President Stephen. Happy New Year to everyone. You all will remember when Bill Ellen was here, and Cheryl certainly, since he's her boss, will remember when he was here, and he talked about the NCAA, the first round of the tournament will be here, and it's March 23rd, 24th, and 25th, I do believe. It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday that we're looking at. Bill has asked our club specifically to help him man what he's calling like a hospitality table. And we're looking at the Marriott as possible location for us. So I'm going to be looking for, Stephen has given us his blessing for this to be a club project. So I'm going to be looking for volunteers to help us man that table. We'll have so many visitors in our city, and they will need to know, where to go to eat, where to go for entertainment, and that sort of thing. So that's what we're looking for. Hopefully we can get the Marriott, but I will get back to you on that. But we're looking for 2-hour shifts, similar to our bell ringing. 2-hour shifts. You can do it by yourself, or you can get someone else to do it with you. Whatever your availability is, if you would let me know. I've already spoken, Matt Kennel, I don't know if Matt's here or not, but I've spoken with Matt, and he's going to definitely help with this at City Center Partnership. This is all happening in his backyard. So we're going to participate in this. I think it's a great event for our club to participate in. It definitely shows our community involvement. So I would love to hear from all of you about your availability or what your wishes would be. Any of you having businesses or activities on Main Street, we're going to have a cheat sheet for I call it a cheat sheet, but for everyone to tell you like what's playing at the Nickelodeon, what is the exhibit at the museum, because all that's in walking distance of where we will be at the Marriott. So we will have that for you, and then some restaurants have volunteered to bring different things down to the table to offer appetizers or offer samples of something to the different people that will be here. So I hope that our club will participate heavily. So I ask that you just get in touch with me and let me know if you're interested in participating. Thanks.
Thank you, Lizzie. I know Columbia has been waiting a very long time to make this happen, and it would be great if our club could help support the town and man a table is a very small contribution, so please see Libby about that, and we'll have more details as it gets closer. A couple of announcements from me, and then we'll turn it over to our presentation for the day. On January 21st, that's MLK Day, we will not be meeting on MLK Day. That is a national day of service, so we do encourage everybody to find a service project or find something good you can do that day to help your fellow man. There will be a fireside chat for all new Rotarians on January the 28th at 5:30 at the Kings Grant Clubhouse, which is in my neighborhood. I will send an email to all of those who have not attended one, but that is a requirement for all of our new members. It's hors d'oeuvres and drinks, light conversation, and just a chance to learn a little bit more about Rotary, so I encourage you all to come to that. The Bocce Bash Committee. We have Harley Carpenter here from the Special Olympics of South Carolina. So the committee is going to meet immediately after this meeting over here at the table where Blake and Harley are sitting. So please stick around if you are on that committee. And last but not least, Doug Cochran is sick today. He wasn't able to come in and share the results of our bell ringing campaign, but I wanted to share some of the results with you really quickly. We had 68 club members participate this year. We handled 193 one-hour shifts, and those 68 members recruited another 61 non-club members to ring the bell with them. We raised $11,243, which is a 23% increase over the previous year. Doug's not here for me to thank him for his leadership, but I certainly wanted to thank Doug for trying new things. Cynthia put together a great online sign-up, which was a new offering for the club this year. We had 20 different people that were day captains filling all those shifts, and I just want to tell you I really appreciate it. And I want to recognize one person individually, and that's Bob Helms. Bob is a relatively new member, but he filled several key slots for us and filled a total of 5 hours over 4 days at all 3 locations. So Bob, thank you for your leadership. I spoke to Major right before the meeting, and they are tallying up the results of who brought in the most money during their shift, and we'll have those announcements in the coming weeks. So now I want to invite past President Bob Crutchfield up to introduce our speaker.
Where's Rusty? Back there. For those of us who've been in the club for a long time, you might remember that when you're short, you have to do that. We used to have music during the meal while you ate, like if you got here at 12:30 or whatever, back when we started at 1. Today I was sitting there eating and I was hearing this music, very lightly done, but I heard this music. I looked down and Rusty has kind of taken that on, where he's been playing a little music. He's got a couple things he doesn't want to do yet because he's still working on it, but we appreciate that. He ought to get a nice hand of applause for that. it's great to be a Rotarian. It's particularly great, I think, to be a member of this club. And I say that because of the fact that there are a lot of reasons to be a member of this club, but one of the biggest ones is you get great programs because you have the numbers here to take care of that. It's interesting to me to hear health and happiness today because it ties in a little bit to what our talk's about. Because it's really leadership, which is a timely time of the year to do that. Let me read something to you, let you think about it because you're going to hear about it. Here's a quote from Brian, who you're going to meet in a minute. How we look on the outside is a direct reflection of how we feel on the inside, making it impossible to work with one and not the other. Over the last decade, Brian Maynor has built a reputation as one of the leading image consultants and style coaches through his signature program, Find, Flatter, and Flaunt, which helps transform your image, boost your confidence, and empower you to look and feel your best. You know, it's interesting, I think when he got out of school, he was probably like most of us, he had no clue what he wanted to do. But he went to work typically in a clothing store. He went back to school, majored in journalism, with emphasis on broadcasting, and then he became an attorney, which sounds kind of strange thing to do. He told me it just wasn't what he wanted to do, but yet it probably had something to do with why he does what he does today, because he got a federal grant that was managing a federal grant to assist victims of domestic violence, both legally and through partnerships with shelters and coalitions. Through working with these survivors, we discovered the power of how we look has on how we feel. Once the grant was over, he felt a reignited purpose for helping everyone live the life they always wanted to live, instead of feeling resigned to the life they had now, which launched his career as an image consultant. However, it wasn't long before he realized that his clients didn't just want advice on how to look better, they wanted advice on how to improve the quality of their life. He's local. He didn't have a college on there. I think it's North Carolina it is, but it was North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He's kind of got a unique style about what he does. And that, and everybody, I guess everybody's got to have something different. He helps people improve their mental image as well as their physical one, since what we think has as much an impact on how we look and feel as what we wear. He's here today to teach you a little bit about that, and I hope you'll enjoy hearing it. Brian?
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Louisa for inviting me to be here. I am honored. I am nervous. I am intimidated by the people that are here, so please bear with me as I kind of get used to and hopefully comfortable up here. As Bob said, I have a very storied career path. It's not certainly been common. I practiced law, I hated it, was not very good at it, but fortunately I had the grant that gave me other opportunities within that experience, and it helped me understand and see firsthand the power of image, how we look, how we feel, and the impact that it has on our lives and the choices that we make, and those choices lead to our successes. And so that's kind of how I decided I wanted to help people. I wanted to help everybody maximize their potential. I wanted to help them create the life they've always wanted. And I wanted to do that through the use of their image. So often, image is seen as something that is surface. It is superficial. It's something that changes every season, every month, changes with how we feel. And that's true, it is. But it's also a very underutilized and very powerful tool that can have immediate impacts on what we do, how we do it, and the results that we see. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. It is very fortuitous. We're all kicking off a new year. We're in the mindset of opportunity and possibility and open to change. And so I'm hoping that through this presentation you'll have some insights, some information, or just spark some curiosity that'll benefit you in moving forward and setting goals and achieving them in this year to make 2019 the best year yet. So let's get started. Oh, by the way, because I am nervous, looking out at all of you staring at me makes me more nervous. If I look down, don't be offended, but it also helps me if you ask questions. This is your time. I am here to help you. I am much more interested in giving you information that you want, as opposed to just being a talking head blathering through a presentation. So don't be shy if you have a question, if you don't understand something, or you want more information on something, just grab my attention. And that's probably going to be shouting at me, hey Brian, I don't get it, I don't understand. Tell me more about that, because I'm probably not going to see a hand raised. So relax, it's informal, we're all in a safe space. Just feel that this is your time, and I want it to be beneficial to you. So that's the most important thing moving forward. So I've said image probably 100 times right now. When you think about image, what pops into your mind? The first things that you think about?
Your physical appearance.
Exactly, physical appearance, your clothes, your hair, your makeup, everything that the billion-dollar fashion industry tells us we should care about. It's our appearance. And it's true. Boilerplate language, I didn't steal anything. Our image is made up of three things. It is our appearance, but it's also our attitude and our behavior. The three things work together. They're equally as powerful. They play on each other, they influence each other, and one alone cannot really express our image. We need all three of them. Because appearance is pushed on us a lot, you can't open a magazine, open your social media, or an email without seeing an ad. I'm not going to talk about it much today. If you have questions about it, I'm happy to answer them more towards the end. I want to focus on attitude and behavior. They're equally as important, but they rarely get the spotlight and the attention they deserve, especially when it comes to thinking about them and processing them. Is that mine? Probably. Okay. Oh, okay.
It's not mine.
Anyway, it happens. It is what it is. But yeah, so attitude and behavior are the two key things that I want to address today. And so what is attitude? You know, we think about it, we see it, we can discern it even from a picture across the room. We don't have to know exactly what they're thinking to pick up on what they're thinking or how they're feeling. Attitude is permeable, it's tangible. We see it, we feel it, we sense it, we hear it. Dictionary.com defines it as, what does that say? A subtle way of thinking or feeling about someone or something, typically on one that is reflected in a person's behavior. It's our thoughts, it's our actions. Our attitude is everything that is internal. It's all those little voices that are running through our heads, telling us what we should do, what we shouldn't do, pushing us in one direction or the other. To show how that relates to behavior, it manifests in our behavior. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But attitude is internal, but that doesn't mean it only affects us. Prime example, if you're standing in a group of people that are happy, you're more likely going to be happy. If you're standing in a group of people that are negative, you're more likely going to start feeling negative. It happens to me all the time. My husband will come home from work and he's in a bad mood. You know, it's been a long day, he's tired, we start talking about what we want for dinner, and then I start getting snippy. And he's like, what happened? Why are you in a bad mood? And I have to stop and think, I'm not in a bad mood. I had a great day, I was productive. I'm feeding off of and feeding into his attitude of having a bad day. Same thing could have been in reverse. I was happy, I was in a good mood. He could have fed off my energy. He could have been a little bit quicker to let the day go. He could have relaxed a little bit more. He could have been influenced by me just as easily as I was influenced by him. We just know it's easier to take on negative feelings than it is positive feelings. So that's really what we're talking about with attitude. It's everything that's internalized for us. But why is it important? What we think doesn't really impact us, right? It's wrong. What we think impacts us directly. Studies across the globe have linked health, both physical and mental health, to what we think. When we're happy, we're less stressed. Our blood pressure is lower. We make healthier choices. There are physical ramifications to being happy. It in fact impacts our engagement, for both work and personal. When we're happy, we're going to create opportunities. We're going to seek out opportunities. We're going to be more outgoing. And that's not something that happens when we're in a bad mood. We kind of retreat. We shut down. And, we sit in the corner with the gray clouds over our heads. Being happy changes how we interact with other people. It also changes our communication skills, which is how we interact with other people. Think about it. When we're not in the best mindset, rarely do we say what we want to say, and we always misinterpret what's being said to us, right? Someone could make a benign comment, and if we're in a bad mood, we're going to take it personally. We're going to lash out at them. And that doesn't happen when we're in a good mood. It doesn't happen when we're in a positive space. We communicate much easier, we communicate much more effectively, and it's just a more productive dialogue. Lastly, morale, productiveness, all of those are improved when we're in a positive space. And I guess I should take a second to say, I say good and bad, we all say good and bad. That's not from a judgment standpoint. It's not saying good is better and bad is worse. It's just really to identify the polarities. Positive and negative is probably a better way to look at it, and it's a useful tool if you're trying to break out of the cycle that's in your head, to say positive and negative as opposed to good and bad, because you do want to disassociate from that judgment standpoint. What's good for me isn't good for you. What's bad for you isn't bad for me. So that good or bad, we don't need it. It doesn't play a role. It's just what we're used to, and it's what we're comfortable with and associating with things, but really it's just polarities. So when I say good and bad, or you say good and bad, just kind of take that judgment element out of it, and it'll help a lot. So, changing and assessing our attitudes. We all know attitudes are fickle. They can change in a heartbeat, right? You're having a good day, and then someone could say something bad. Or you could get an email, or a catastrophe could happen, and all of a sudden, it's blown up. And now you're in a worst day ever. The reverse is true too. You could be having a bad day, you get a compliment, you get an opportunity that drops in your lap, and all of a sudden, it's a great day. Attitudes change as quickly as our thoughts do. But we don't have to rely on external influences to make that happen. We can change our own attitudes as effectively and as quickly as someone else can. And that's through a couple of steps. These are some of the easiest and some of the quickest ways to do it. Pause and reflect. I like to do this before I take any action. If I'm thinking about something and I understand and I'm not really crazy about it and I don't really want to do it, I have to stop and think, okay, why do I feel this way? What's causing the resentment or the resistance to doing something about this? And that's a great check and balance for me, because it gives me the chance to decide, is this authentically what I'm feeling, or am I taking on somebody else's attitude about this? It's really true in like a group setting, because a lot of times, we are influenced by other people, and asking and talking about it, even in an internal dialogue, gives us the space and the time to process it and to say, okay, yeah, I feel this. This is what I think. And okay, I'm going to act on my authentic feeling, not assuming someone else's position on the matter. Senses, using our senses is another great way to kind of reset and to take a break. Music, we all have playlists for how we feel, right? We have the sad playlist that reinforces feeling alone, being sad, being depressed. We have happy playlists that we play at the gym that motivates us, that makes us smile, makes us dance. Listening to music is a quick, personal, easy way to change our attitude. If you're feeling bad, play the happy playlist instead of the sad playlist. And you'll start dancing, you'll start bopping your head and tapping your toes and smiling. By the end of the song, you're going to be in a good mood. Yeah. Sense of smell. Sense of smell has long been linked to memory. It's very powerful, whether it's a fragrance or a candle or aromatherapy or just grabbing a cup of coffee because you love the smell of coffee. You know, taking a moment to just inhale and then releasing it, you release a lot of stress, you release a lot of anxiety, you're going to change your attitude. Another way is laughing. Even a forced laugh, it's a shock. It's an abrupt break. It kind of jars us out of whatever mental space we're in to reset. Bookmark your favorite comedian, bookmark a joke, ask somebody to tell you a joke, even a bad one. You know, you're going to just chuckle, and then it's going to give you that momentary lapse just to get out of your head and to come back with a fresh perspective. And of course, the other option is just screaming. You know, let it out. Preferably in private, in your car, not in your desk or something, not at someone for sure. But sometimes you just have to let it out. Because once you let it out, you can let it go and you can move on. So, those are a couple of ways that we can change our attitude. Why is that important? Why should we worry about changing our attitudes? Charles Swindoll, you know, life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. That 90% reaction isn't just physical. It's just not what we do. It's how we think, how we internalize it, how we feel about it. Attitude is a huge part of that 90% of success, of how we deal with the 10% of the stuff that's given to us. So does that make sense? Is that kind of, any questions about that? I kind of rushed through a lot of things. Yes.
You're asking us to have control of our subconscious. Are there certain exercises that you perform to have a stronger control of that?
Control over your subconscious, it's all about mindfulness. And so it does get to be touchy-feely. A lot of people don't like it because you get into the meditation, you get into the journaling, you get into any exercise that does take time for you to reflect on your internal dialogue and the internal monologue that you have. A lot of people start with a 5-minute gratefulness journal. It's a great, easy thing that you can do in the morning or at night or both, where you just sit down and you write 5 things that you're grateful for the day. You write down an accomplishment that you want to have for the day. And then in the evening you can go back and say, okay, I accomplished that, I didn't accomplish that, how could I have accomplished that or done something differently? It's just really any process that you have to reflect and internalize a little bit. People, you know, pray about it, people read devotionals, and it's just whatever it takes, listens to motivational speakers or some guided meditations to really just put yourself first, to take time out for yourself, to go to a quiet place where you're not going to be interrupted with dogs and kids and friends and family and phones and televisions and iPads. And I mean, it's a process and it takes work and practice. It's not something that's easy to do, but it's definitely something that gets better with time. And the more you do it, the more benefits you'll see from it, the more you'll want to do it, kind of like exercise, I hear. The more you do it, the more you love it. Maybe another way that people can take time for themselves too, is if you're on a treadmill and you're listening to music, it's a great time to kind of just process the day. So whatever you're attracted to that will motivate you and initiate your commitment to it, I would say you follow through with it. Any other questions on those voices in our heads? All right, let's move on to behavior. We already know that behavior is the manifestation of our attitude. It's how we express it, it's what we do. It is, again, defined as the way in which one acts or conducts oneself, especially towards other people. It's our actions, our communication, our verbal communication, our nonverbal communication, eye contact, gestures, movement, posture, resting bitch face. You know, all of these things are behaviors. They are how we manifest what's going through our mind. And that includes our appearance. It kind of ties in on how the three work together. When we want to look professional, we dress a certain way, we think a certain way. When we want to go out on a date, we think a certain way, we dress a certain way because of that. You know, our behavior is us picking out those pieces from our closet. Our appearance is the result of it. So our attitudes affect our behavior affects our attitude, because when we're dressed in a suit, we act differently, we think differently. When we're in sweatpants, we act differently, we think differently. But the big part of behavior that I want to hit on are habits. And that's because we all have them, but because we do them almost on autopilot, we don't think about them. And it's really hard to assess what our habits are, and it's really hard to change habits unless we ask for help. Again, it could be gestures, it could be checking your cell phone in a meeting, or driving down the road. You don't really have to go far to see someone with a cell phone attached to their hand. I feel the best way to reflect on our habits is first, find someone that you trust. Find someone that you are comfortable with, that you respect, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. No one wants to hear what they're doing wrong or how they can improve certain things. And having that companionship and that comfort level from the very beginning, that safe space, is really important, because you're going to be asking them, not necessarily for a laundry list of all of my bad habits, but one or two things, even a week, a month. What have you recognized? What do you see me doing? How can I be more effective with X, Y, or Z? And just have them be your eyes and ears. Because unless you record yourself, you're not going to see what you do or how you do those little tics that impact how others see you. It impacts your impression of me. It impacts my impression of you, whether I'm talking to you, or I see you across the street, or I see you in the grocery store. We all form opinions and ideas and make judgments about what we see other people do. And I like to think most people aren't intentionally behaving badly. They just have some bad habits. Here are some of the most common. Inappropriate verbiage or lingo. It's not just millennials who do it. We all do it. We all have a familiarity and a way of speaking with our friends and our family that sometimes bleeds over to our professional lives and to our formal communications, and it's just not appropriate. It just takes away from our message, and it takes away from the image we're trying to present. So it's just being a little bit more mindful of how we craft our words. Punctuality, again, you don't want to be the person who is always late. I have friends that you tell be there 30 minutes ahead of time because you know they're going to show up 15 minutes after that. Cell phones, we've already talked about it. Silencing them, constantly checking them, being attached to them at all times. Anytime a notification comes up, you feel compelled to check it. It's being present in the moment. It comes back to being engaged. You know, if you walk down the hall and someone says good morning, do you stop and say, hey, good morning, or do you just plow on by like you didn't even hear it? You know, if you're the person who said good morning, you kind of feel a little rebuffed. If you're the person that plows by them, you could be missing an opportunity. They could be looking for a partner. They could be looking for a project manager or have some other opportunity, and all it would take is, oh, good morning. And do you have a second to talk to me? No, not now. Catch me later this afternoon. It doesn't mean you have to engage in a long, drawn-out, extensive, elaborate conversation with someone. Eye contact for a second just to connect with them could be all it takes for an opportunity to fall into your lap. If you don't engage, it's going to be a missed opportunity. And then you also have interrupting and talking over people. It's a habit. People do it not consciously, and I do believe it's not intentional. It's just they are used to wanting to get their voice out or wanting to express their opinion immediately, and they just can't control themselves. And it's just pointing it out to them. And again, not abiding by the dress code. We get to choose what to wear. Dress codes aren't always formalized anymore, but we do have control, and we can see guidance from what other people in our office are wearing. There's very different versions of khaki pants. There are very different versions of polo shirts. Just because it's informal, you need to kind of skirt on the safe side and look at what other people are wearing. Don't rely on it's a polo shirt. Well, it's faded, it's stretched out, it doesn't fit you well. Even though it technically is a polo shirt, you probably shouldn't wear it to work. So it's just paying attention to those things and being a little bit more mindful. So I know that's pretty good timing on my part. It's about 5 minutes left to ask or answer any questions that you have, to kind of make any last remarks or comments. Yeah.
Speaking about appearance, is it okay to wear the business slacks that are yoga pants?
No. Anything that says yoga pants doesn't go with professional, unless you're a professional yoga teacher. Yes, ma'am.
On that same vein, how do we teach the millennials and all the younger generation that athletic wear is not to be worn in public and that tights are not pants?
Exactly. And it comes basically to being that direct with them. You can't rely on people to pick up on subtleties. You can't rely on people to always follow an example. The best way to get the results that you want is to be direct and to follow up with them. Point out when it's not appropriate or when it's not acceptable. You have to be consistent with it. You know, saying it broadly to a group of people when you're really talking to one person, that one person's not going to pick up on it. I guarantee you. You need to pull them aside. You need to have the conversation with them. And it doesn't have to be negative. Again, I'm helping you. I want you to be seen in your best light. You're very intelligent. You're very innovative. But how you dress is impacting your success. And it's just, coming from that non-judgmental, helpful approach and reminding them over and over again. Because they may need help. They may not legitimately understand the difference of how they need to change in order to fit in with what everyone else's expectations are of how they should look or how they should dress for whatever position they're in. Yes.
Is your business structure, do you do a lot of corporate work? Do you work closely with individuals? Or?
I've done both. I've presented a lot with organizations and businesses in helping create defined dress codes. I've had retreats for employees kind of addressing some specific issues that they've had, but then I also work with individuals who are in transition. Speaking about this being an opportune time, people really have to be in the mindset of change, open to change in order to affect change in their lives, even when it comes to their image. If you're caught up in life in a crisis 1 to crisis 2 and putting out a fire here, you're not going to be worrying about image. You just don't have time. So it's working with people who are in a position where they're looking for a new job, or they've lost their job, or they've had a baby. So it's really catching them when they are open to and really embracing change that helps them the most. Thank you.
Brian, you did a fantastic job, and you certainly don't have anything to be nervous about. Before we started today, I was telling him how I have enjoyed his articles for the last few years that he writes for Midlands Biz. And as a small token of our appreciation, we're going to give you this token. And on the back of it, it has the Rotary 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. And it certainly applies to the behavior component of an image. So thank you for being here today. One more announcement that I forgot before I turn it over to Louisa. The Rotary International Convention is coming up in June. It's going to be in Hamburg, Germany. If anybody is interested in going, we have a couple of members of our club who are going. We'd like to kind of coordinate from a travel standpoint, from sightseeing over there. So if anybody's interested, please see Louisa or Lanier and let them know your plans. And President-elect Louisa, who do we have coming next week?
We have another treat next week. We have Marhiko Nakahara, who is director of the South Carolina Philharmonic, who will be here for our program, and he's trying to get some of his musicians to come with him. So keep your fingers crossed. That would be great.
Fantastic.